Hi there! Let's look at how to subtract polynomials. Subtracting polynomials is the same as adding, but now we're going to subtract the coefficients instead of add them. So in this example, the first thing I'm going to do is find my like terms. The first term I see is this 10y squared, and I'll put a box around him and go through your polynomials and find all the other like terms. So all the other terms with the y squared, 4y squared here. And then do the same thing with the other terms. So the next term I see is plus 6. I'll put my circle around him, and I'll put my circle around the plus 5 because they're like terms. Now before I go any further, I'm going to bring my attention to this minus sign. And how I'm going to do that here is I'm going to highlight it, just to draw my attention to it again, because the most common error when you're subtracting is forgetting to subtract the coefficients. And now simplify them by changing their coefficients. 10 minus 4 gives me a 6y squared. And then I have 6 minus 5 is a positive 1. So subtracting polynomials should look familiar. Again, we're just going to subtract their coefficients. If we go to our next example now, we're going to do the same thing again. Right? Find your like terms. Here's a v squared. I'll put a box around him. And here's another v squared. And then we have this minus v. Don't forget their signs. Okay, always take those signs in with them, and the like term with him would be the minus 3v. Again, I'll bring my attention to this minus sign. This time I'll just draw an arrow so you guys can kind of see how that might look on your papers. Combine the like terms by subtracting their coefficients. So I have 6 minus 7, which is negative 1 and v squared. And then I have a negative, right? Remember this says invisible 1. So negative 1 minus negative 3. Okay, what that looks like is negative 1 minus your negative 3. And this double negative, right? Subtracting a negative is like adding a positive. So negative 1 plus 3 is plus 2. And then we have our v. Now this is correct. We did subtract our polynomials. We just need to simplify a little bit more. This 1 right here, he's a little bit of extra information. So we're going to do minus v squared plus 2v. And that would be the simplest form of this polynomial. Now we can also subtract vertically, just like we did adding. So let's look at one of those examples here. When you subtract vertically, you're still going to look to line up your like terms in columns. So here's my first column, and I see I have w cubed and a w cubed. That one's good. Second column, we've got w squared over a w squared. Still doing well. And then my last term here on the top row is a w, and he's over top of a w as well. So it looks like it's all set up to go. We just need to subtract. So 2 minus invisible 1. 2 minus 1 is just 1. So I'll do a 1w cubed. 5 minus negative 8. That's that subtracting a negative, so it's the same thing as saying 5 plus 8, which would be 13. And we have our w squared. And then negative 3 minus 11, which would be negative 14w. And that's how you subtract polynomials. A few things to remember here. Again, identify your like terms, and then subtract the coefficients.